Welcome to this commentated fight coming from BCS Lisbon in Portugal. So this was the first ever big event in Portugal, well, at least of this scale, and we're gonna see the top 4 match here between Julien Delmarre on the left, I think I said that with a relatively Luxembourgish accent, and on the right is Marton Miko. So on the left, so Julien is from France. He's a very well-known player, mostly known for playing Aqua Force, which is a bit, ironic that he's playing against Aqua Force in the top 4. And he was at Worlds last year as well, and he's been just topping a lot for the years that he's been playing Bushiroad games, essentially. And Marton, he's topped here and there. I believe he's topped in Germany once or twice, and I mean, he does have the Team League mat, so his team did come in top 4. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was in Berlin, but I'm not entirely sure. But here we do have a matchup between OTT and Aqua Force. So we can see that Marton has a really strong start. I know the glare makes it a bit hard to see, but he is on the Algos, and he has the Tidal Assault on the right as well. And I think he dropped a second Tidal Assault, so he's going to try to really rush Julien here, which is going to be pretty scary. So he attacked for the first one, and he hits the damage trigger, which kind of takes off the big rush that Marton could have here. So he hits for... he looks for a trigger, but he doesn't get anything, and that's gonna finish. That was, honestly, that is such a scary start, just because, you know, he set up the perfect rush that if he didn't get any damage triggers, this would be so many attacks. But one damage trigger, and it shut down everything, so that's really unfortunate to see. But Julien is going through the very typical OTT start, so he rode over the Magus to get the extra draw. He's killing the Tidal, and he gets the Sotori Himia, and now he has a 16k swing. He's just trading rear guards, essentially, because he knows that that's what Aqua Force prioritizes. I mean, he is known for Aqua Force, so I'm pretty sure that it's normal that he's tested the deck a lot as well. So I think it's a very nice matchup to see because of that. So here we see that Marton goes into the Maelstrom and gets his first Axle Circle, and we'll see how it progresses through here. So just as a reminder, Maelstrom's skill lets you counterblast 1 to give plus 3k to your front row, and on top of that, when your rear guard's 3rd or 4th attack hits, then you can discard 2 cards to restand Maelstrom, which is pretty huge. So he hits another damage trigger on that second swing. So here we're going to have the Maelstrom just attacking, I believe, the Vanguard, if I'm not mistaken, currently going for the 1 to pass, gets a front trigger so it passes, and also gets the Navel Gazer. So the heal comes through, so already 3 triggers, 3 for 3 in damage triggers, which is huge. And, he heals on top of that, which is just insane. So if I was sitting in Marton's position, I would be devastated here. I would think, well, how am I supposed to even get out of this? My opponent is just getting damage trigger after damage trigger. There's just no hope for me here. And, I definitely feel it right now. So the Algos hits the rear guard, and here the Tidal is still going to be able to hit against the Meme, because this is a 29, so he got the plus 10k from the front trigger and plus 10k from the axle. I apologize for the shakiness of the camera sometimes, it's just because, it's on a tripod, but the table wasn't very stable, so every little thud on the table makes the camera shake, which is a bit unfortunate, and I know that affects the quality as well, but unfortunately there wasn't much else I could really do about that, so that's just how it's going to be for this top 4. I also got to record the finals, but unfortunately I don't really have the time to commentate the finals as well. But from the 2 matches, I think this one was the more fun one to commentate, because we have a very popular deck going up against something that people consider to be rogue at best, with Aqua Force. People really don't consider it to be very good. And here we see that Julien used the CEO Matarasu skill to check the top card, and he has a heal over there, so he's going to be able to go down to 1 damage here, which is honestly just huge. So top 4 is always fun to see, because in top 4 they're still fighting for the chance to go to Japan, because it's not like, in finals both players are already going to Japan, but they're fighting for essentially at least 500 euros worth of prize money but the money is valued in the sense that it's flights and hotel, so it's a bit different, but it's still quite a lot. So here we see that heal come off that he already knew about, so that's 4 triggers out already, nothing to be super amazed by, but at the end of the day, like, they're coming one after another, and that's pretty scary. So we see the first crit. We've been seeing fronts and heals and draws so far, but here we have the crit coming down. So he's using the Sotori Hime skill to discard the protect marker, and I think they're having a quick they're asking the judge because I think he was supposed to draw first and then discard. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think they're just resolving that. So he has to draw first, and then he chooses his discard targets. Now he discards the protect marker. So I think that's because it didn't necessarily change the game state too much. They could still rewind that without any penalty. So I think that's fine as long as it's resolved that way. Like, there are those kind of rulings happening here and there, so it's not really, I think, a big issue. You know, I had one of those run into, you know, I ran into one of those during the Buddy Fight day as well. So I think it does make sense. As for my personal record in BCS Lisbon, I actually went, I believe, 5-2, losing to Shadows, which was a stomp, and then I lost to Murkumo, where it was quite close. If I had one trigger and 4 drive checks, I would have won. But, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So he goes into another Maelstrom, and now let's see, he's using the Maelstrom skill, I believe, to give the front row plus 3k buff, so that's quite nice. And he's going to distribute the dice over the units. I think it's always easier to just kind of put like a global plus 3 in the middle of the playmat, just to kind of, you know, just as a little pointer for all the units. And so here he's attacking with the Algos first, so he paid the Counterblast 1 to restand it already, but this is still a 12k attack, so he does get rid of the Promise Daughter. And now the Maelstrom is attacking the Sotori Hime, which is a good move in my opinion, because this way he's going to be able to concentrate on the Vanguard with the next few attacks, and there's no chance of a trigger denying those attacks as well. So let's see how it goes. So he still has the Algos, the Tidal that can withstand, and also the last one that I forget is the Basil, I believe. So here we see that it's hitting, and it does hit, so now he can activate Maelstrom. You know, I talked to Julien after this match, and he actually told me that the time when this attack hit, he actually forgot about Maelstrom's other skill, which lets him restand. So we see that, you know, Marton is just he's gonna trade those 2 Navel Gazers, you know, that were clogging up his hand for an extra 2 drive checks, so that works out perfectly fine for him. So I think, you know, I'm not sure if, you know, Julien did say that he didn't mean to let some of the Maelstroms hit here, but that's just how it is. So that last attack hit, you know, he could have, I believe, I'm pretty sure that Maelstrom is once per turn, so if he would have attacked, but even then he would have attacked 4th time with Vanguard, so it wouldn't have actually done anything. So, you know, it's an interesting position, but this has definitely turned the tides in Marton's favor, because just with that one attack, you know, hitting, and the fact that Julien isn't hitting his defensive triggers anymore, he's able to still both rush in on his opponent and also still get another Vanguard attack with the 2 drive checks, so that's definitely very nice. But, you know, Julien still has a huge hand. We see multiple heals, a perfect guard, and many other big shield values, so it's not like he's gonna have a hard time guarding against all of this, so I think it's gonna be pretty fine. So let's see how he progresses. Here, this is just a normal Maelstrom, I think, with the 15k attack, so it's not even that big. I think he's just debating if he wants to let him take the triggers or not, so he does check 1 front and 1 Tidal, and there's the Promise Daughter, so that doesn't hit for, so it doesn't get a damage trigger, but he still has 1 more attack to worry about, and this did get the front trigger, so it is hitting for, if I'm not mistaken, a 32, but he just perfect guarded that, so that works out just fine. So I think the reason why Julien also dropped the protect marker last turn was because, you know, he already had quite a few PGs in hand, so he's going to use the Amaterasu, which means he doesn't have the Imperial Daughter, for shame, but I think he just saw one at the top of his deck, so if he has any ways to draw it, like, you know, he does have the bird in his hand, so he could Soul Blast 2 to draw into it, so let's see what he decides to do. So, they're just trying to agree on a power counter for Amaterasu's power going up, which is still going to go up more because he can still look at the top cards of his deck with things like the Farfai. So the Luck Bird comes down, he can Soul Blast 2 cards that are on grade 3s, and draw a card, and there's the Imperial Daughter for next turn. So he already has his optimal right target for next turn. You know, he is behind on 1 protect marker, which is a little bit unfortunate, but, you know, that's not too bad as long as he keeps enough big shield values. But even then, against Aqua Force, you don't really want big shield values, you just really need to hit the defensive triggers, but he already more or less maximized on that, you know, potential in the early game when he denied that entire turn 2 of Marton. But even after being denied that turn 2, Marton is still bouncing back perfectly fine, you know, just from 1 Maelstrom hitting and from him not getting damage triggers later on. He's able to keep just pushing and pushing and pushing damage, and that's definitely very nice to see. So let's see how he decides to push after this. So he still has those drive checks from this Amaterasu attack, so let's see what he can do with that. I think calling the Luck Bird to the front was also a good idea, because it's an 11k that can hit any of his rear guards. And you know, the thing with playing as Aqua Force is that, you know, he has a lot of those annoying rear guards, but against any Axel clan, once you start targeting the rear guards when there's already too many, it's just hard to really get rid of everything, and playing the playing the resource game is really hard unless you're playing like Kagero or Narukami or even Shadows. I say with hesitation, because Shadows, they trade 3 for 3, and if you're not already super far ahead, that 3 for 3 is going to hurt you quite a bit. So Julien does get the crit, which is nice. You know, that's going to make a little bit of a difference, but it depends how he decides to move. I think this Luckbird needs to hit a rear guard no matter what. So yeah, I think he's doing the right thing with attacking the Algos. That's definitely the most relevant rear guard on the board right now, I think. But he can just intercept with the Basil if he needs to, and you know, just stop that attack right there. And then I think he'll probably attack with a 33. Oh no, he's debating taking the Algos. Let's see if he decides to do that. He's hovering over it, and he takes it, okay. And then I think this Promise Daughter it's a question. So he attacks the Vanguard, which means that he would take 2 damage, but he has the Counterblast to do anything else that he would want to, which includes like Algos and Maelstrom and all the other stuff. But it looks like Marton wants to actually stop it. So it's a 33, meaning he's going to need a 25k shield minimum. There's the 15 and the 10. Okay, he guards it, 25k shield. That's perfectly fine. So he does decide to stop that. I think that's fine because the deck does have a counter charger, and you know, he has it in hand. We can see it in hand right now. So I think it works out pretty okay because of that. But we'll see what he decides to do. You know, a column with the Penguin and Title would be pretty optimal because that lets him kind of maximize. He has the Diamantes that he could also use that'll hit for big numbers and be able to, you know, kind of just keep on pushing throughout this game. And he can also use the Counterblast from, you can actually pay the Counterblast to restand it after he uses the Penguin. So I believe the Penguin is on 4th battle that you have to use it though. I'm not sure if it's 4th or more, if it's 4th, but I think it is 4th, but we'll see. So this was the first attack that's going through right now, so just checking that it's 1 damage. So he intercepts with the Promise Daughters, that's 1 intercept down. He attacks with the Maelstrom for just a 12k attack, so it doesn't make a big difference in terms of numbers, but we'll see where he decides to go with this. So let's see. This is just a 12, so technically a 15k shield will be a 2 to pass. So that does make some difference. Let's see if Julien is gonna take the risk with a 2 to pass, or if he's just gonna deny it and say no pass, no getting through. You know, because with Aqua Force, if you 2 to pass them, they can rip 2 front triggers and not really risk anything, because fronts just apply AoE, you know, to the front row. So it doesn't really make a big difference to him. So Julien is really checking all those triggers, making sure that there's nothing that he hasn't, you know, nothing that he's missed in terms of cards. So he's just going to drop the 15 for the 2 to pass. There's 1 Penguin and the Riptide, so that's how it's going to be. Here he's going to attack with the, he's debating on attacking with the Basil. He attacks with the Basil. Is he attacking? Yes, he is. Okay. So he's attacking with a 19k Basil. If this hits, the Maelstrom will restand. So Julien has to think how he's going to guard this, because his hand doesn't look that big and he needs to still live and be able to, you know, go into the Imperial Daughter next turn. So I don't know if he has a perfect card or not, but he's going to take that. He was hoping for a damage trigger, because that way at least the Title's second attack would be denied. Oh, he was asking to just check the drive check. Oh, no, it wasn't the drive check. It's because it hit the deactivated Maelstrom skill to discard 2 and restand him. So that was the 3rd attack. This is the 4th attack, which is where the Penguin has to go off. So he's gonna get the Penguin off and countercharge 1, and that's gonna be it. So I think that's a 2 to pass. He gets the draw, he puts it on the side and draws 1 without much consideration and gets the front trigger. If it was in reverse order, that would have easily, you know, been all on Vanguard, take the hit kind of attack, and that would have been a pretty cool finale to this fight. But I think even then, Marton's in a really good position because he has the 1 counterblast to restand the Diamantes, and you only really want to use Diamantes' restand on that specific situation where you're already going for game and you just need that 1 extra attack to push it all out. So I think Julien still has 6 cards in hand, which is honestly enough to still potentially protect him here. You know, I think 2 heals. There's the 1 grade 3 for sure. I think he has 2 grade 3s actually. So he drops the 20k shield to guard against the Title, and that should be enough, I believe, because the Title is attacking for, what, a 24k attack? If I'm not mistaken. I think he's he really restood it as well. So yeah, that normally should be the right amount. I was just checking because I forgot that the Penguin also gave the plus 5k. So I think here Marton needs to think about how he's going to use the Diamantes. He's trying to probably trying to remember which cards Julien actually had in his hand, because that way he can actually, you know, think about how he's going to go off of this. So he's going to activate the Diamantes here, and he's going to have to discard a card, which is pretty expensive for cost, and he's going to drop the PG. Ooh, he's dropping the PG. He's really trying to go for game here because, you know, he knows, I think, that he cannot last any longer than this. The unfortunate thing with Diamante is that he loses the power essentially during the battle that he's attacking and you use the skill, which is really unfortunate. So Julien had to drop a lot of shield for that attack, and I'm not sure if he has enough. He has one Imperial Daughter and one Farfai. I can't see the last card, and it's gonna be game! Marton goes on to the finals, and spoiler alert, he comes second at the end. So it was a really nice event overall, and it was nice to see so much international display as well. So this was a really cool event and a really fun fight to commentate over as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. But on that note, that's going to be it for me today. Don't forget to click the bell button, check out the second channel, as well as the social medias in the description, and join the Discord channel if you haven't already. But on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.